Hello, Freedom Preppers. Perrin Lovett here for Prepper News Weekly for Friday, February the 2nd, 2018. Happy Groundhog Day. Yes, today, maybe even as I'm recording this, little Poxitani Phil, the everybody's favorite rodent, will come out of his hole or house or whatever and see his shadow or not. That's not a very reliable way to predict the weather. But anyway, people are really into it. They even have a groundhog like Phil in Atlanta, General something or another. Poxitani Phil historically is only accurate about a third of the time, although his accuracy has been improving the past few years. Anyway, there's another winter storm swooping in, I think, for the Midwest, New England this weekend. Probably a wintry mix, not as bad as what we've seen 2 or 3 weeks ago. But today looks like a pretty nice day where I am. A little chilly, but no major weather issues to report on today. I've been waiting for 2 days now, actually for over a week, for the memo. Release the memo. Hashtag release the memo. Where is the memo? Where's the Democrats' rebuttal memo? This whole thing is almost surreal. Yesterday I ran a headline on the news that we may get the memo today, may get the memo on Thursday, and we did not. The House has voted to release it. It's apparently contains some classified information, so the White House has to clear that. Trump says he will allow it to be released, and now they're saying maybe today, maybe Friday. And again, if it actually comes out, we'll amend the news site to reflect that. I don't know if if they're going to put a copy of it out, if it's going to be heavily redacted. I've put up some links yesterday and today. Judge Andrew Napolitano and Pat Buchanan, two very trustworthy men, have both given their takes on what the memo is likely going to mean. And I think everybody kind of knows the gist of this. One, there was an effort between the Obama administration and the Hillary campaign to do anything they could to discredit Donald Trump and prevent his election. And then once he was elected, it turned into a revenge fantasy to make the Russia connection, the Putin collusion connection. And essentially, it looks like they've just made up the whole affair in an effort to stop him from being elected, to discredit his presidency, and possibly even to get him impeached or to show some kind of criminal activity. And all they've succeeded in doing so far is showing some an accounting irregularity with Paul Manafort's beach house. And Paul Manafort probably would have never had to plead guilty to lying to the FBI if he had taken my advice and just not talked to the FBI. If you don't talk, you're not lying. If you're not lying, they don't have anything to convict you on. He could be pardoned for that anyway. But that's the extent of it. There is no collusion, except for the collusion between the Obama administration and the Hillary campaign to in effect, rig the election or to topple the elected government. And this all gets into, so they built this dossier of fake information, and the FBI got a hold of it and used that as the basis with the NSA to get the FISA warrant application to tap the phones at Trump Tower to continue the investigation into the fake nonsense. So we've had resignations already at the FBI. They're talking about the director stepping down. The FBI is in panic mode about whatever is in this memo. They're saying, "Oh, this is we have grave concerns, and this is going to be a threat to national security." Well, I imagine that most criminals, when they're about to be revealed, have grave concerns about the truth coming out. And maybe it does have to do with national security. Maybe elections and the integrity of the people's government is important. And if you have a Department of Justice and an administration actively interfering, maybe that is damaging to national security. So maybe more people need to resign. Maybe people need to go to jail. Maybe it's time for the extrajudicial option, sending people to Guantanamo Bay as enemy combatants. There's all kind of solutions for this. I'm sure we'll have all the answers when the memo comes out eventually, whenever that is. And of course, the Democrats have their own memo to set the record straight, and I want to see that too. Of course, I'll put that out if we see it. I wonder if it contains classified information. I wonder if Trump would have to clear it, or if it's just made up of complete and utter lies and fake news, like the rest of the story. But anyway, we'll sort through all that. Never a dull minute in Washington. And don't forget, we got through the budget shutdown the other week. I think we've got a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks left until the next deadline for the next shutdown. But anyway, fun will be had by all. We had the State of the Union speech Tuesday night, third longest in history. I think I put 2 days ago, I put a link to the video of the whole speech and the transcript. Nothing out of the ordinary. Trump, of course, played to his successes, in Trump fashion. Getting off of I'm tired of the political bent. We've got a Super Bowl coming up Sunday. Super Bowl 52, New England versus Philadelphia. And I put out an article yesterday with a funny little picture of a sick football. Experts are kind of worried that with this flu season being one of the worst, at least in the past decade or two, that the 70 or 80,000 people at the game may be setting themselves up in a giant petri dish of flu contagion. Think about that. If you have 70,000 people in close proximity in an indoor stadium, and 500 of them are sick and they start coughing, and this is a rapidly spreading H3N2 germ, you could have a recipe for real disaster, or not. We'll see about that. Another thing that we'll just have to wait and see about is you've probably forgotten about this. We're supposed to forget this happened, but there was a shooting in Las Vegas back in October. A lot of people were killed, and the narrative changed four times. It changed, and this week we got another change. Of course, the story is, or this is not terrorism. It can't be terrorism. We don't know what it is, but it's not terrorism. Even though ISIS was saying, well, this was us. This was our work. One man, lone shooter, crazy man, did it all himself. His girlfriend was a person of interest, but we let her leave the country, and then we interviewed her when she came back. Thank God she came back, and she didn't really know anything. Lone man, lone wolf, crazy man, crazy American, no terror. That's the end of the story. But we'll have to at least have a year-long investigation before we can actually tell you what happened. We don't have any ideas about a motive, although we do know it is not terrorism. End of story. Forget about it. This week they said it slipped out. A judge lifted a gag order on some documents, police documents, and it turns out that there was a second person of interest, I guess, who was under investigation. I put the link out. I don't even have his name. But as with the credibility of the FBI being totally shot, of course they are knee-deep in the Las Vegas investigation. It almost seems today in America, this goes back to my instability video last week. In America today, there are two groups that you almost certainly cannot trust. One is the mainstream media, and the other is the government, the police, the FBI, Congress. Pick your president. If a politician or a bureaucrat or a mainstream reporter, CNBC, NBC, CNN, if they tell you something, you can almost certainly assume that the opposite is true, or that whatever the truth is, you know it's not what they're telling you. So these are all issues to be aware of. There were a lot of very interesting articles and links that I put out in the news this week. I'll go back and check those. I'll put the link down below. And I'm checking the news live right now. Let me do a refresh. No memo yet. We'll have that memo as soon as it. If not, you know what? I'm just going to make up my own fake memo and throw it out there and say this is what really happened. Probably not. Anyway, you folks have a great weekend. I know some of you will be watching the Super Bowl. I know we're going to have a lot of really sad Eagles fans come Monday, but yeah, it'll be okay. Have a great weekend, and I'll be back with you next week.